Okay, so this is a video about the tools that I find useful when you're making bras. So I have a couple things laid out here. First is the Rotary Cutters. This is the standard 45, I believe. Sorry, I'm just trying to focus the camera there. And I think the 18. It's the smaller one. It just helps you get around the tighter curves just a little bit easier. But yeah, I do have two rotary cutters, and I replace the blades every so often. And yeah, they work out pretty well for me. I think those are 20s. Oh, never mind. Anyways, and I also have a pair of fabric scissors. These are the Gingers. And I also have this rotation cutting mat. It just makes things a lot easier when you're working in a small space and with small parts to cut, so I could just rotate things around instead of having to walk around the cutting board. So yeah, it just makes it easier. And a ruler. And of course this here is what they call a topper. You get it at the Home Depot or something like that. It's about $2.50, relatively cheap. It's for pressing the seams open. And here's the tailor's ham that I have. This works too. The handle, I guess you would say the topper that I was just talking about, it's for pressing the curved seams open. And the next thing here are these friction markers. Now, when you find them in the art store, they're not really advertised for marking on fabric, but trust me, they work. So this is basically, I'm going to show you how it works on paper first. So I'm just going to take my green pen here and mark on paper, and then you take the eraser part of it and you'll see that the marking pretty much disappears. So I've used a piece of fabric and I've marked it on the wrong side here with a purple marker just because I want it to show up on the video better. So now what I've done is I've taken an iron and put it on its synthetic setting, and I'm going to rub it pretty hard, and you'll see that the marking disappears. The reason why I like to use these on fabric, even though they're not advertised for fabric, by the way, is because I often find myself in a situation where I need to come back to my project in a few days. So I might start something and then not finish it for like a week or whatever. And I find that if I've marked with chalk or with the water-soluble pens that you get at the fabric store, I find that it disappears, and sometimes I'm left in a situation where I'm like, oh shit, where are my notches? So I've started using these these markers, and they're absolutely fabulous. The only way the marking is coming off is with rubbing the hot iron to it or by putting it in the dryer. So I've never really had a problem with this, although I will say you do always want to make sure that you mark on the wrong side of the fabric, because I have heard, I've never actually had this happen to me, but I've heard of people having this happen where, specifically with these markers, the marking showing back up, you know, if they take the item out in a really cold weather. Like I said, I've done this with numerous items of clothing and I've never had a problem. But I've heard about people saying, oh, the little etching comes back up, or, you know, it just comes back up and then you have to hit it with steam again and it disappears. Anyhow, so this is just some of the things I wanted to share with you guys. I'm going to be making a couple more tutorials on bra making, and I'm going to be putting them into a playlist. So I'm kind of breaking things down into some simple steps. And yeah, so please subscribe and continue watching if you want to learn more about bra sewing and making.